Okay, these are my images right here.
Great. So let's just click on the first one, and then basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to grade them on a scale of 1 to 3. So if you get a 0, it means why the hell would you bring this to critique? What's the matter with you?
Right.
If you get a 1, it means that it shows promise, but that we didn't quite hit the mark that we were after. 2 is a commendable image, is something that would be portfolio worthy, and 3 is exceptional and the best of the best. So before I grade you, you get to talk a little bit about the image, and then you get to grade yourself, and then I'm going to agree or disagree.
Okay.
No pressure.
Okay, this image, they're actually twin sisters. I guess you would say phonetic or not identical or whatever they call that. They're actually 15, shockingly. My jaw hit the ground when they said, yeah, we're 15, because they look like they're 20. So this was just a sister photo shoot, basically. The mother had hired us. We went in and around Baldwin, as we normally do. We like to shoot primarily out in the country. We have areas that we go to specifically, specific times of day. We know what the light's going to be doing. We know what the situation will typically be and what product it will yield. This was the end, or towards the end of the shoot. We're getting into the golden hour. We're out in the field next to a barn. Susan just texted me. She's trying to join us here in a second.
Okay.
So really, it was just a candid moment. We did several wardrobe changes. This was, I think, the last one, I believe. And we had done a lot of individual shots separate. And we said, let's get the girls together. Let's show the sisterly bond, your twins. And I think we captured that. I think this captures their youth, their feminine beauty, and kind of a camaraderie of sisterhood. I listened. I had posted this early in the week, and our peers in the cohort have given suggestions, and I've changed the images since then, listening to a lot of their suggestions. The biggest one is that their faces are too smooth or too perfect. And I would agree to an extent. The girls were wearing pancake makeup, really heavy stuff, which I'm not a big fan of, especially for girls that are so young. But for the most part, I think the image is just about perfect. This is one that I love, and I think it's a hit.
So you would give it a 3?
I would give it a 3, yeah.
Okay. I agree with you. I think you definitely got the sisterly blonde. The brunette is definitely adding to that because she's really just loving on her sister, which is good. It's a great shot. It's genuine emotion. That's one of the hardest things that I think that portrait photographers have to succumb, is that we start getting cameras shoved in our face from the moment we're out of the womb, and we're taught to smile. So everybody does that school smile, that little cheesy thing.
Yeah, the fake smile.
And this one's really genuine with both of them, which I think is good. There's only a couple of things that I have as far as critique. I love the hair light around, but you went in and digitally softened the background further, and you can see that right around the top edge of her hair in the highlight, because you have all these flyaways on her right-hand side, our left.
Yeah.
And you can see where it starts to smooth on the top right.
Yeah.
So I would go in and touch that up a little bit because it's making it look a little muddy. It may have been the makeup, which probably added to it, but I'm guessing that you also retouched the skin. So the skin's a little soft and plastic looking, especially if you do have a lot of makeup. You have to be really careful with that. It's particularly noticeable on the blonde because she's got these really smooth, poreless cheekbones and nose and forehead, but then we see all the lines on her neck. So you have two options. If you really, really love that completely smooth porcelain look, then you have to carry it down to every area of skin that's visible in the picture. So all the way down the neck, the arms, everywhere, and it has to be uniform across multiple people if you're doing it. Otherwise, it's noticeable that you're taking it out. So the lines right under her chin are a giveaway. The dimple towards like the beginning of the collarbone and the décolletage, those would have to get retouched out to equal the texture of the face. The hair's beautiful. We picked up a lot of detail in the hair. It's always hard when you're dealing with multiple colors, so we lose just a little bit of it to the shadows in the very bottom corner of the brunette's hair, but not enough that it really bothers me. It's just nitpicking between good and excellent. I love that you have the interaction and that the brunette is kind of holding on to her sister, but the arm over the shoulder is totally awkward. You had to pull it down a little bit more so that we could see the fingers on her shoulder, and then it would look more like a hand, but she's kind of nubby right now because we can't see any of the appendages of the fingers. Other than that, I do think that it's a fabulous image. I totally believe that this was probably one of the favorites of the parents and that the girls both look beautiful, so they'll love it as well. Overall, I'm going to give it a 2. I think that you definitely hit the mark, but I think that there's a couple of little pitfalls that took it down from being really exceptional, but you're right on point. And most of the things that are knocking it from a 3 to a 2 are actually in post, which means the photography is dead on, which is good. So
Very good. Right on.
Okay, so hi Susan, we caught up with you. I muted you because you were typing or doing something, but feel free to unmute and join us if you can. Are you guys? Did you guys both set aside images to bring, or are we pretty much just doing yours?
We sure did. I'm trying to figure out how to get back to you guys.
It's okay. Let's go to your second image.
Okay.
And we'll go through yours until Susan clicks off the mute and joins us. Okay. So tell me about this one.
Just a second. I'm typing to her. This is obviously a sunflower. In Kansas, we have vast fields of sunflowers. Thankfully, they're late this year because it was so wet. So we won't see them until probably September this year. Typically, they come into bloom. They come up. They bloom. You got maybe 2 weeks max to shoot them. They start to degrade very quickly, especially if it rains on them. So we were out and about. We stumbled across this particular field randomly late in the day, and it was actually approaching sunset. And we just got out and started shooting as much as we could shoot, capturing different views, angles, different setups, a lot of insect life, which led me to do a lot of macro. And I think this was just really cool. This I actually printed. And I printed it in panorama. If you imagine the top half of the portion of the image completely gone, just the lower half. And I printed it, I believe it was 48 by 60, very large print. And man, it was hella expensive to have framed. But I ended up selling it to Tony Brown, one of our state representatives.
Nice.
I love the contrast between the yellow and the blue. You can tell it's becoming night. It's getting dark out. I love that you can see the grains of pollen on the flower and all the little individual stamen on the flower head. That's about it.
So what would you grade this one at?
I'd probably give it 2, specifically because my focus in the upper left corner is a bit off. It works because I hate to use the 2/3 rule or the third rule. The center of the image is perfectly focused. The bottom right corner is where your eye really wants to go from light to dark. So you don't really pay attention to the upper left corner, but it still bothers me.
The selective focus doesn't bother me as much. I love, and I've been studying a lot of sacred geometry in nature, so the sunflower definitely follows that, which I think that you totally got. I also have extremely, extremely high standards with floral photography because I'm friends with Alan Shapiro. So if you're not familiar with him, go look him up before you take another flower photo. So I do like the juxtaposition of the cool and the warm colors, but I have to be honest, all in all, this one isn't really jumping out at me as a professional image from a photographer as opposed to something anybody with a camera could take. So it's pretty. I like the cropping. I can totally understand how it would hang on a wall, and really that's the end result. If your work, if you're able to sell it to someone, especially for a good price and at a large print, then it's a success, which should definitely speak to everyone about the fact that all work can be sold, and photographer critique should be taken with a dose of sugar and salt.
Yeah.
But for me and from other pieces that I've seen, I don't think that this one's really competing with the rest of your portfolio in terms of one of your better images. It's pretty, but it's just pretty. There's nothing remarkable. There's nothing exceptionally interesting about it that would make me want to stay and study it. If I was scrolling my news feed and it just came up from your page, I would scroll by it. So for me, that's a telltale sign that it's a negative, whereas the first image that we looked at, I would stop and pause that to look at in more detail. So there isn't anything necessarily wrong with the composition of it, but there isn't anything that's exceptionally intriguing about it either that sets it apart from the millions of other flowers of sunflowers. Right. So, I mean, it's pretty, but it's just pretty. And for me, that's where a failing image is. If I have people that are like, yeah, it's nice, I failed. I'd rather them hate it or love it as long as they're not ignoring it. There should be a visceral reaction, and I'm not having it to this one.
Right. Kind of the dreaded mediocrity of photography. That's a driving force of how do you make it exceptional every time, and it's so hard.
Well, there's in the Convergence group, there is Cheryl and Carl, both of whom are flower photographers. Yeah. So you can definitely touch base with them. And I'm telling you, if you're not familiar with Alan Shapiro, go look him up and follow him on Instagram, because that man makes art out of every flower he photographs. It's incredible.
There's a lot of the floral photography. She's much better at that than I am.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll let her show you up in a few minutes then.
All right. So we move on?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 1. I think it shows promise. I really do like the color juxtaposition, and I like what you were going for. I think you can do better though.
I agree. All right, number 3. For whatever reason, it's looking a little grainy here. It's not supposed to be that grainy.
It's not showing up grainy for me, so.
For me, it is. It's weird. Mother-daughter moment. This was a family photo shoot. They're very good friends. I'm actually shooting this woman's wedding in Chicago coming October. She's basically said to me, I want you to be our photographer for life, which I love. I want to build lifetime clients. And that's kind of how we build our business. When we do a senior photo shoot, I tell them, I want to shoot your wedding. I want to shoot when you have babies. I want to shoot everything. I want to shoot your life. This was in one of their barns. They're sitting on the tailgate of the truck. We were kind of between poses and shots. I was tweaking some settings, and it was really just a candid moment. And that's what I love to capture, that kind of moment. When the client doesn't think I'm ready, and I'm not, they don't think I'm going to shoot, and I'll tell them, just goof around or do whatever, be yourselves for a minute. I'm doing something, and then bam, I'll nail it. And I think that is basically what I've captured here. I think I'd give it a 2 at least.
Okay.
As far as flaws go, I could look at this one forever and ever. The position of the girl's neck bothers me a little bit. I can't really change it for being a candid shot and being taken so quickly. I've thought about, could I change my angle or my approach at the shot? and I couldn't have. I couldn't have moved into position and got the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm totally with you. You always sacrifice the technical precision for the power of the moment, because the moment is what sells this photograph.
Yeah.
If they were just sitting and looking at the camera, it wouldn't be potent. There's just a couple of things. One of my big things that I'm always beating on my portrait photographers is to understand the difference between age lines and expression lines, because women especially, we put a lot of our value, and society puts a lot of our value on youth and beauty. So now that there's the ability to retouch, pretty much all women want to look as young and beautiful as they possibly can, and it's great for their egos. So we have like the lines coming down right under her eyes. So you can tell that when people are laughing, as soon as they laugh, they get these ones and these ones, but these are age lines. And you'll start to see that like the skin gets more saggy the older we get, so we start to get like the laugh lines down here. And the best way to learn which are which is to photograph someone like the 15-year-olds you had in the first one, and then to do someone in their 30s, their 50s, their 70s, and see where the changes in the lines appear and where the expression is. So I think these two coming down right here, they could probably get retouched out to make her cheeks look a little fuller and take some of the age away. Same thing, the cheek lines are important because of the smile, but the ones that appear and sort of mimic underneath and run parallel to the bottom lip, those could probably be softened a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the necklines, again, the necklines are always age lines. Youthful necks don't have those lines unless they have extra weight on them. So you start to see that from the skin sagging. So those can always get retouched out. Along the top of mom's head, you can see like the separation in the part, and because she's older, her hair starts to thin, so I always go in and darken that just so that it doesn't give the impression of thinning hair or a bald spot.
I've never even considered that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, the parts will always sort of betray age too. And I would probably go in with warp or liquefy and just pull just a little bit at the top of the hair to even it out, because it's all kind of flowing to one side, which may have had more to do with just the wind, and you can see like the little blows of the side, but I would just pull it out just to even out her head, because it's making her look a little lopsided right there. As far as her daughter, the position is what it is. I'll definitely sacrifice that for the moment, but I think that you could probably, again, take the liquefy and just pull the hair on the back of the neck in towards the front of the neck very, very slightly, but just enough that it would make the neck look more slender and less wide, because the angle that she's out is really widening it out a lot more than it really is. It's just the perspective.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's a couple of little things that just bother me, like the little chair or metal, whatever's right behind the daughter in the bottom corner has that little silver metal lining running down. That would get retouched out because it grabs my attention and pulls me away from her.
Okay.
And I might be inclined to go in and soften up behind them in general, because the tools and stuff in the background, unless it was a shot that was, on the family farm and they only go there once every couple of years, or like the tool would have to have a purpose to stay in the shot for me. I would retouch it out personally, whether you blur the background out further or you clone stamp it out. Either way, that would be my ideal. The color is just a little flat, and you can see the light coming in from the sun on the sides of their face, so I think warming up the tones will put a little bit more life into them. But that's also personal preference, and if you look at my images, I tend to cast them really warm on purpose, so that might be personal bias coming in.
Yeah.
But I think warming up the image when they're outdoors is always a plus, because it gives that nice warm outdoor kind of feeling to it.
I agree.
I still think that it's a really great image. The only other thing that I could pull out is that the daughter has like this one little misbehaving wisp of hair that wanted to come back towards the collar and is over her skin. And I would probably take like just that piece out and let all the hair float back instead of forward. But that's really nitpicking, and it depends on how much you got paid to take this shot. You know, if it was a collection and they had hundreds of images from a family function, that's one thing. If this was the one that she's like, I want a 20 by 30 print of, then I would take the time to do that. So some of it's just understanding priorities and what's worth your time investment. But overall, I still think it's a great photo. It's got great, genuine emotion, and that will always, always, always trump technical precision for me. So I'm going to give this one a very high, too. I still think it counts.
Cool.
But there were just a couple of things. So, okay.
All right, moving on. Tioga Pass. This is the entrance to Yosemite National Park. And we went there last year, and it literally moved me to tears. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been on the planet. We were in Tahoe for business, and we were lucky enough to have a couple extra days that we could drive down to Yosemite, and we literally whirlwinded. I think we slept a couple of hours a night because we were just wanted to see everything we could possibly see. And everywhere you point your camera, it's a photographic opportunity. Everything you see is beautiful. National parks, of course, are famous for having the iconic shots that everybody's taken. And I actually just posted a thing about this, about national parks and how photographers shoot and crowding and all this other stuff. For me, it's capturing the moment or the iconic shot as best you can possibly get it. And this was towards the end of our day, and as you can tell, it's sunset. This is exactly how it looked. The colors maybe tweaked just a little bit towards the vibrant side, but I mean, it was just awe-inspiring. It's the most phenomenal place. If you look to the left, you'll see there's a line that comes from the left side of the photo, and it kind of goes right across the middle, in the middle of the mountain. On the far left, you can see cars, and they are the size of ants, and that gives you the scale of the place. The elevation change here is about 6,000 feet in difference from top to bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just, you feel so small when you stand here. I mean, the trees you're seeing in the very, very foreground are 16, 17 stories tall. They're huge. So just the ability to capture the image is kind of like, wow. What am I trying to say?
It's overwhelming.
It really is. The camera doesn't even do it justice. It's a good representation of, hey, look at this, but it's somewhere you have to go see really to get it. So anyway, I love this picture because I love the moment, and that's about it, really.
I love this shot from you. I'm quickly becoming more of a landscape enthusiast because a lot of the Arcanum is full of incredible landscape photographers. And when we were doing the tour with Trey on the tour bus, Ron Clifford came and stayed down with me, and I watched some of the work that people put into the landscapes, and it was incredible. So I love this one because of the juxtaposition of the textures with the hardness of the mountains and the rocks, and the sort of gray and cooler kind of color schemes of the mountains, and then you have all of this warmth and rose and butter kind of cutting into the mountaintops, and then it fades out to blue again, and I think that draws you right into the center. It's really good composition with mountains on either side, which leads you and keeps you in the middle of the photograph so that you just keep looking around it without falling off the edges of the pages. I'd like to have seen maybe just a little bit more light on the camera's left-hand side mountains, just to sort of even up a little bit what we're getting on the right. But obviously that sun direction, you could have touched it up just a little bit in Photoshop and maybe dodged it. And I think in general, just a little bit more brightness on the left and the back mountains, just to really, really pull out all of that texture and gradation, would have really made it pop. But overall, this is one of my favorites that I've seen from you so far, so I'm going to give it a 3. I think it's one of the best in your portfolio right now.
Wow, thank you.
All right, last one.
Last one. Abby and Justin. This is an engagement shoot. 1 second. I'm talking to Susan. Engagement shoot. We're doing their wedding coming up, I believe, in October. Typically, when the client comes to me and says, hey, we want engagement photos, I say, stop there. Let's put together because I want your engagement, your announcement, your save the date, and your wedding. This is what you're going to pay me. I always upsell the client if I can. So this is at the family farm. It is a place that they wanted to do the shoot. It's endearing to them. It's special to them. Dad was there and he watched. And this is on the side entrance to the house, porch steps. And I just noticed the spot on the house, and they weren't there. And I said, "Wow, it's just a neat little area. It's one of those doors on the house that probably nobody ever walks through. You know, they use the front or the back. It's just a weird side door." But I said, that's the perfect place to capture you. And I sat down and I said, just look at each other for a few minutes. And I think they kissed a couple times, and they did a couple where they looked at me. But when they looked up when she looked up at him and they looked at each other, I think it just perfectly captures the moment of family, home, tenderness, the young affection they have for each other. You can see them, embarking on the journey together, and I love it. So, I think Tom Upton, mentioned her left foot, how the toe turns in, and I never really caught that. And I love that. It almost shows the vulnerability to her. She's turning towards him with her toe, you know what I mean? Anyway, I love the image. Technically, it's not perfect. The bush has been mentioned by some other people. I actually did go in and I kind of took out what I could without muddying up the picture. I kind of like the texture on the right. But I would say maybe the reflection in the glass is a little bit distracting.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna pull out the reflection. I do think that that's a hindrance. I think that if you had stood up a little higher and shot down on them, then you wouldn't have had that behind his head. It would have changed the perspective, and that probably would have helped, because I'm also not a big fan of the lines of the door, the window, whatever that is behind them, cutting right into his ears, and it's the same thickness as his ears, so it pulls you away from him. The other thing that you want to be careful about with portraits is not to keep joints on parallel lines. So you see her elbows are dead even and across, and they're also sitting on her knees, which are dead even across, and her 2 feet and one of his feet are dead even and across, and so you have these lines going across the image with their body language that is also being replicated with the steps and the siding, and so it gets very linear, and I think that that really distracts from the image. I don't mind the bush necessarily, but I think that it would have been stronger if the texture had continued all the way up the image. It's a little heavy to camera left just because his foot's getting cut off on the right-hand side, but he's leaning and there's like millimeters of space between his elbow and the crop. So I think if we had pulled it out probably way further than it is, or cropped it in way closer and cut their legs out entirely, that it would have been a stronger image. Can't do anything about pulling out, but I'd be interested to see you crop it in, and probably crop it in at his left shoulder and just under her hands, and up as a vertical image and see if maybe that works better, or even cropping it as landscape, like from just above his head to maybe just below her hands. But something with this one is not, actually there's several things with this one that are not working from the standpoint of composition. I do love the genuine expression. That is definitely one of your strengths with people. And it's one of the hardest ones to teach. So, you know, the things that we're critiquing and going back and forth on, we can fix those all day long. They're not difficult to learn and move and amend. Connecting with your clients and getting genuine reaction out of them, that one's something that people really struggle with, that people that are good at it struggle with teaching them. Because some of it is just being a people person and being intuitive. So you're definitely having that element where you can encourage reactions without intruding on the moment and having it be sort of forced or for the camera. It is a good photo. I'm sure that they loved it. I would also encourage you in the future to just pay attention to girls and their legs, because most of our curves come in from like right under the arms down to the hips, and you have all of her curves blocked by her legs. So having her bring her feet down would have broken up the parallel of the knees and the feet, but also would have exposed her waist a little more, so we could have appreciated the figure, which is pretty much the whole point with photographing women. Yeah. So it's just those things. You have good interaction with him with his hands on her. Again, I would have liked to have maybe seen that right hand come down to like maybe her hand, and having her interact with him as well, because he's all over her and she's all over herself. Do you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
So something simple like having her lean in and bring her arm over to his leg so that there's an interaction and a shared connection is always good. You're definitely making up for that with her. All of her connection with him is in the expression, which is really potent, so I think you can get away with it. But in the future, just make sure that both of them are touching and paying attention to and sort of invading each other's space rather than it being one-sided, because then it starts to look heavy towards that one side. Right. So I'm going to give this one a 1. I think that it had a lot of potential. I think that you definitely saw something. You definitely get points for the expression, but I don't think that you quite hit the mark on this one. So.
Very good.
Susan, are you able to join us and share some images?
I am here. Brian's going to pull up images for me.
Cool.
There we go.
There they are.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the shot and what you love and don't love about it, and then we'll go through them.
Well, this shot, it's the same location, same family as the mother and daughter that Brian shot. I like that it's a father and son, and it's just such a manly environment. You know, they're in a garage on an old pickup truck, and I like that you can see the tools in the background in this one, just because John, the father in the shot, he's a carpenter. I mean, he's always working with tools, working with his hands. I love the lighting in this. I think I definitely nailed the lighting. I think the only thing I would change is maybe have the picture maybe not so heavy on the right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd probably rank this one a 3.
Okay. I agree. I think that this is a really strong shot, and because you have it pulled out so far, it tells more of the story, so it makes sense for the tools to be there because they're in a barn or a shed, you know, and so it gives them a reason for being there and the purpose. I love the old truck. I love their interaction. You nailed it. Again, I'm seeing that this is kind of a family dynamic with you guys being able to do this. The only thing that immediately jumps out at me as a negative, I would be inclined to take out the rear view mirror, just because it is this beacon of white because it caught the reflection and is detached from everything. So after you look at it for a minute, you can figure out that that's what it is, but it not being there won't take away. Nobody's going to look and go, where's the rear view mirror? But it pulls you over to this side, and because everything that's essential is really happening on the camera right, there's no reason that you want people to go there, because the only place to go from there is off the image. Right. So you want it to direct back. So that's really the only thing that grabs me really strongly about it. I'd like to have given Dad something else to do with that left arm that's kind of falling off. It's kind of an odd crop. I am not a stickler for cutting off limbs at joints unless it doesn't work. And here it doesn't work. So I think having him bring his other arm around, whether it was resting on his knee or hip or came around to his son, would have been stronger, but it's just like this awkward kind of lean thing going in. The expression's great. I love the boy's face. And I do think that this is a really strong image. The portrait lighting's really strong. I would have liked to have seen it pull, I think, just a little bit more onto the backside of the truck. Just a little bit further. Really, the light falls off pretty harshly, and I think we could have really accentuated the truck as the prop instead of just where they were sitting. But you could totally go in and do that with dodge and burn as well, and just pull it out and make it just a little bit more prominent. But overall, it's a really good image. I'm gonna give this one a 3, but it's just squeaking by because it is one of my favorites that I've seen from you so far.
Okay.
Nice job.
Next one. Okay, tell me about this one.
This is little Mac. I just had her bring him over to do some spring shots, and I love the depth of field in this one. I love his expression and that, you know, it's an action shot. I caught him pulling the wagon. I wish it wasn't so far left, but it was one of those moments I had to hurry because he kept turning around. Again, I'd probably give this one a 3.
Okay. This is a really, really adorable shot. I love the styling and everything. I agree. It's too far left and nothing on the right is adding to it. I think that this would probably work better as a portrait shot as opposed to a landscape or a square crop. I would cut all that out. There's no reason for it. And I think even if you had to lose just a little bit off the top and maybe half an inch off the bottom so that we weren't seeing as much of the tires, that it would still be strong, but he's getting lost in all the green. There isn't enough going on back there to make it worth how much space it's taking up in the photo, and so the woods are starting to compete with him for starring role, except for it's soft focus, so you know that it was supposed to be about him. So the lighting's pretty, but it's natural light, which again I don't think is necessarily something that couldn't be attributed to luck rather than skill. So I think, you know, photographers all the time talk about the magic hour, and it's even to the point that there's Instagram posts for people that are taking pictures with their cell phones about what time of day to go out and to shoot in shade and stuff like that. So that's kind of novice in terms of nailing it. It's kind of a freebie almost. So this is a great shot, but I also
used off-camera lighting on this one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I would expect that there's more contrast and more of a punch between him and the background than what we got from it. Because I can't tell. So yeah, I really can't tell. So on the one hand, that's really good because it means that you can fake having natural light when you can't, but on the other, if you're going to go through the hassle of having extra lights aside from just the sun, especially when you're shooting kids because it is so about the moment and they don't hold it, I think that having a little bit more. Okay, so I can catch it a little bit in the catch lights.
Yeah, that's about the only thing you can see, really.
Yeah. But other than that, there's not enough. There's a couple of really good. I'm gonna have to give you guys some resources because there's a couple of photographers that really, really nail natural plus off-camera light and how dynamic you can get with it. I think it's a great shot, but if you take out the elements that give you the handicap, like the fact that it's an adorable little boy with big blue eyes, you know, if you put somebody else in there that wasn't an instant all factor, would it still be an amazing photograph? And I don't think that it would. So
I agree.
I'd say crop it vertical, shorten it down, probably make it a vertical 8x10. That would help boost it up. But overall, I'm going to give you a 2. It's still a very good image, but I think that the composition's lacking, and I think that the lighting's a little flat.
Okay.
High key.
Tell me about this one.
This is Natalie, and we shot her. It was dead of winter. You can see a little bit of snow in the background, and that's one reason I was okay with the sky being white. I usually hate a white sky, but I thought it worked with this. She was next to a barn, so I liked a little bit of the contrast of the rough old barn and her very smooth, youthful appearance. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'd probably give this one a 4.
3's as high as you can go.
Oh, a 3. I didn't know that. I thought it was 5.
No, okay, well that makes me feel better that you're giving yourself 3s for all of them. So I was like, well, we may have to tone it down a little. So yeah, it's on a scale of 1 to 3. Okay, good. Okay, the white background and white sky doesn't bother me at all. I love the halo of light. We lost just a little bit of the edging of her hair, which is so hard to not do when they're really light and fair colored, into the background. But it's minimal at best, so it doesn't really bother me. She's got great expression, great poise. I like the connection of her to the camera. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit of her thumb. It makes her hand look a little awkward without it. So you always want to just pull it out just a little bit. But that's starting to nitpick at it. I might have touched out, you have like this one strand that's kind of falling off her left-hand side. That's a pretty thick group. I might just be inclined to get rid of just that one offshoot of hair. I am not a fan of the really harsh texture on the barn, only because it looks like the siding and the chipped paint, which is a really cool feature, is actually sharper than her face. So I keep looking at that instead of at her face. And it can be a really nice accentuation, but it shouldn't compete with her for the attention of the viewer, and I feel like it does. So I like the texture of it and the coloring and how that sort of anchors her, but I would recommend that you go in and just play with maybe softening it just a little, so that we're sure that the sharpest thing in the image is her eyes and that connection with the camera. I'm not particularly fond of the wall behind her just because it cuts right at the jawline. And I think if it was down a little bit more, it'd have been better. But again, that's really nitpicking at it. I mean, if it was me, I would probably go in and clone the sky all the way down so that we didn't have that dividing. Oh, maybe it's not the wall. Maybe it's just the horizon line. It's soft enough that you can't tell.
Looking here.
Yeah, that's just the horizon line?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's off tilt just a little. So you have this like perspective thing, especially because the line of the horizon is coming in and meeting at a corner with the line of the one piece of siding. See how they converge right there? So you want to come right into that, which is probably why I thought it was a wall. So coming in and straightening that, but in the future, those are one of those stupid little detail things that if that was offset and halfway in between, it wouldn't draw the leading line away from her face so harsh. Because you follow from her right to that line and then go right up that seam of the siding, which is the sharpest point on the image. But I'm really tearing your work apart, and overall, it's a beautiful portrait. I would definitely want to buy this if that was my girl. And I think that it's gorgeous. I love the catch lights in the eyes. The retouching is pretty. I think both of you like to be just a little heavy-handed on the retouching of the faces when the girls are really young. We get kind of flat, so I'd like to see a little bit more light from you to kind of sculpt the face a little bit.
I actually don't think we hardly edited her face. She had amazingly smooth skin.
Yeah.
Don't you agree, Brian? Hello.
Well, then it might benefit just to dodge and burn and sort of digitally contour just a little bit so that we're getting some bone structure just a little bit. Like, not a lot, because they do. When they're that young, they just have beautiful, flawless skin and no lines, but that also makes them kind of have, like, almost Barbie doll faces.
Right. I keep saying it's very
flat.
flat.
Yeah, so this is where having like a really good makeup artist comes in handy too, because like the girl that works in my studio, she contours them gorgeously, and she knows exactly how much to do to get it to pop in the pictures without looking like they have a ton of makeup on. But the other benefit is that watching her do that for a few years, I can go in and do that with Dodge and Burn now and pull it out a little bit more if I don't nail the lighting, or if it's just really soft overhead light and I'm not getting a lot of that on them. But you know, that's really looking for things for improvement, and I still think that this is a gorgeous image. And this one I stopped to look at twice in the feed when you posted it, so that makes it an instant 3 for me.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Yay.
All right, next one.
Next.
Okay, tell me about this.
Okay. Well, we are lucky enough to live right next door to a football stadium, and we do a lot of senior shots. So this particular kid, he obviously played football. The sun was setting, and, you know, the reflection on the metal bleachers, the scoreboard in the back, I think it's a really neat image. The sky really, I think, really makes it pop. I guess I'd probably give this one a 2.
Okay. I like this one a lot. I think that your perspective is off just a little. If you had taken one step closer to the front of the stadium and shot it on a little bit more of an angle, just because we're losing the whole line of the bleachers because it's directly behind him going in, and then you have the outside of the bleachers and that fencing leading right into the side of his face. Like, there's just a little bit of separation. So if you'd taken half a step this way and separated just a little bit more, it would have also put a little more distance between the edge of the scoreboard and the top of his head so that they weren't colliding at the summit, and given us a little bit more of the lines of the bleachers to work with you. That's really my only critique in terms of the composition of the photo. There's a couple of other things, like it looks like there's lights to the right of the scoreboard, or some kind of telephone pole. Yeah, that one right there, and the one after it. I think those are a little bit visually distracting. I would take them out. But that's just me. Otherwise, the lighting's really, really nice. You can tell that this one has artificial light on it, which was obviously necessary for the sun. So I think going up and maybe just warming him up just a little bit and making that light a little warmer would give the illusion of it being sort of the natural light and follow the warmth of the sun, just to make it not such a harsh separation between, you know, artificial light and natural light. But that's really it. I love the ball. It's very natural. He looks like somebody snapped a photo of him while he was just sitting there, not like he was posing for a photograph. And believability always sells higher price tags for me. And overall, I think it's a really good image. He's just a little serious in his expression, like I had to smile for it. And I can feel that little bit of energy, but I don't necessarily think that's a you thing as much as that is like awkward teenager, I don't want my photo taken kind of thing. But overall,
Never want to smile.
Yeah.
So serious.
Yeah, especially with the boys, like because they always want to be like badass, you know. Like they don't want to look cute in photos. They want to be.
You always have to tell them to smile. With girls, sometimes you have to say, "Okay, quit smiling so big."
Yeah, exactly. But overall, I still think it's a win, and I'm betting that, you know, Mom was thrilled to buy this one, so it's still a win. I agree. I'm gonna give it a 3 just because I can't think of a reason to give it a 2. I still don't think. I don't think in the realm, if we were comparing it to all other senior photographers that I knew, that it would score a 3. But for level 4, looking at your work, I definitely think it's portfolio worthy, and it's one of the better ones that I've seen you come to the table with. So next, critique you at level 9. Next critique we do at level 9, then your work gets compared to all of your work from this stage forward, so the critiques get harsher.
Wow.
Okay.
Good to know.
So tell me about this one.
Okay, this little girl, we were on it was an old truck she was sitting on, but the way the sun was hitting her and just the gentle smile, the look in her eyes, I decided to not really so much focus on the fact that there's a truck in the background and to zoom in more on her. I loved her expression and just the tenderness of the whole photo. I would give this one a 2.
Okay. I'm going to totally disagree with you. I love that the old truck sort of gives this almost watercolor background to her. I'd like to see it just a little bit more, a more shallow depth of field, just to blur that out just a little bit, but that's really my only critique. It's a beautiful image. She's adorable. She's making great eye contact with the camera, which is really hard when they have the attention span of a goldfish at that age. You know, I mean, again, you're getting a handicap because she's just beautiful. She's just this beautiful little blonde girl. Like, how can you take a bad picture of that ever? Even when they cry, they're cute.
Yes.
But I love the connection. I love the engagement. You know, I'm supposed to yell at you about cropping at the fingers, but again, here it doesn't bother me because the one hand's in, and I think that that tells enough of the story that I don't think that anybody except for photographers looking for something wrong will pull that out.
Right. That initially bothered me, but I thought, you know, you can see her entire other hand, and so
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me at all here. It's a rule because it's a rule, not because it's a problem here.
Right.
There's great connection with the camera. There's great catch lights. The lighting's soft. This is one that I think, I don't know if it was which one of you it was, but you guys shared another image and it spurred like this huge debate, and there was like dissension in the ranks for a day.
Yeah, that was the soft shadow.
Yeah. But this is just a beautiful shot. So I'm gonna give it a 3. I think it's really gorgeous. I don't think that there's anything you could do that would improve it.
Thank you.
So well done. So okay, so you guys can turn off screen share and hop on. And Susan, are you at work right now? Or are you?
I am, but I'm sitting in my car.
Okay. So I don't have video with you, unfortunately, but if you guys want to, well, at least Brian can turn off screen share, although that's a great ad.
How do I get back?
You just click on the green square again.
On the camera?
Yeah, in the when you're on the Hangout chat, you just click on the screen share button that you clicked on before. He's lost.
I am.
Probably minimize this window because I'm not seeing the tab on here for the Hangout. So I think if you just minimize the whole thing, it's probably behind that window. There you go. So there we are. Victory!
Hi, everybody. Man, she is going to glow when she gets home.
So you guys are making Arcanum history. You are the first husband-wife team to sit in together in a Hangout. 2 for 1. Bravo. So I want you to know that in no way, shape, or form does the Arcanum assume liability for marriage counseling or damage to personal products or anything else that results as a result of one of you scoring higher in critique than the other.
We can be a bit competitive too.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I think you keep him grounded though. I'm getting that sense.
She really does, yeah.
And
it's a great job, trust me.
Yeah. So tell me a little about the two of you. I'm going to start with Susan. Susan, tell me a little bit about the two of you and how your work-life dynamic is, and why the Arcanum. What are you looking to do at this point?
Well, I mean, if we're speaking strictly photography-wise, I think Brian and I work really well off of each other. We push each other. We're both very competitive, so you know we kind of compete to get the best shot without actually saying it. Sometimes we'll tease each other, like, he'll say, "Oh, I got the shot of the day. You might as well go put your camera up." So that's one dynamic about us that I think our clients love is we both always go on shoots together, and we're always joking and having fun and kind of feeding off of each other. And we like to make our clients laugh a lot, and we're definitely successful in that. We both just want to grow. We want to learn more. A friend of ours told us about the Arcanum, and we saw it as a great opportunity for us to take this to the next level. So that's why we're here.
Okay. All right. Your turn. Was she right? Where's she wrong?
Oh, yeah, totally. It was Jeff McFeeters that introduced us to the Arcanum, and he says hello. I can't remember whose cohort he's in. He's Sphere 2. Yeah, we work very well together. We're competitive to the point that it's not destructive. I think a lot of times competition can tear people down. She definitely keeps me grounded. She makes me second guess my shooting, and I think not to my detriment. I think it's a very good thing. She makes me slow down and really think. I love what I've experienced in the Arcanum so far. Particularly Steve has, from the beginning, critiqued my work, and he's really made me think. And now when I edit, I think Steve. And
I think that's great, because you only listen to me to an extent because I'm your wife.
Yeah, well, so, I listen to Susan, but also at the same time, we shoot different, we edit different, and I want to keep that level of difference. When we take product to client, I want there not to be a real noticeable difference, but enough that it's, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't want it to be a noticeable difference where, yeah, two photographers did the shooting, but I want it to be unique enough differently that it brings more to the table. I think we're kind of a threat in our area. We are a team photographer group, and we are able, to shoot two things at once. We can be at two places at once if we need to be, and we go shoot everything. I mean, and you don't see a lot of that. Single photographers, they're locked into what they have to do, and they don't have that second person that's getting the shot for sure. There's no backup.
Right.
We go shoot weddings. We have an apprentice named Jace Flory, super nice kid, very talented, wants to develop as much as he can, and he's at that point where it's a financial constraint more than anything. So we drag him to weddings, and I tell him, you shoot all the finer details. Give me all the little stuff, give me all the little knickknacks and all that stuff, and I throw him $100. And he listens, he learns, and it's awesome to be able to teach someone what I know. But I tell him, I said, don't listen to just me. You need to go play with other people and learn from them as well.
So where is it, you guys? Are you guys shooting full time right now? Is this your? Well, obviously not, because Susan's in her car hanging out, hiding from work.
She still works full time, but it's become a business. I mean, I have to spend several hours every day in organization and billing and all that stuff. We shoot pretty much every single weekend is booked, and many evenings in the week are booked.
Are we looking to make this our sole full-time gig?
That'd be nice. Yeah.
That's my goal. I have a long ways to go before we're there, though.
Just from a financial standpoint, or what do you feel is holding you back?
Yeah. We're a large family. We're a family of 7. So financially, we have to kill it. Last year, we were charging, I would say, entry rate fees just to get work. Come over, we'll shoot you for $75. Sure, we'll do your wedding for $500.
Where are you guys at?
Baldwin City, Kansas, which is just outside of Kansas City.
Okay.
And we go everywhere. We'll shoot anything in Kansas, basically.
Okay.
Now this year we raised all of our pricing. We're doing weddings typically $1,200 to $1,500.
Is that about average around you guys?
I'd say we're on the cheaper end.
Okay, what's a good wedding photographer out there? Do you know?
2,500 probably.
Okay. Why aren't we charging those rates?
I think we're approaching
We've done 5 weddings. Or no,
Say it again?
we've done 4.
we've done like 4 or 5 weddings.
Okay.
More than anything, it's getting the experience. We're growing and growing and growing. I don't know. We want to be sure we're bringing to the table, to the client, the best product we can bring. I think it's just a matter of time, really.
Where is most of your income from photography coming? What genre?
Portraiture of family and seniors.
Okay, so not weddings.
No.
Right.
Okay. What do you love shooting?
Seniors.
Seniors? Was that both of you?
Seniors.
Okay.
I like weddings. They're stressful. And you shoot so heavy.
I wouldn't turn away.
I would never turn a wedding away, but man, well, at this point I wouldn't, unless.
Okay, but you guys understand that for every wedding that you take up, you're taking away time and energy that you could be shooting seniors in something that you both enjoy. So that's counterintuitive to getting to where you want to be.
Right.
Right.
So I won't turn it away because they're willing to pay me is the same way. It's just a different wordage that says, I'm scared I can't make enough income at doing just seniors. True or false?
Yeah, I'd say true.
Okay, so I'm gonna call you out a little bit because you came in and you speak a lot of confidence, but I'm thinking that you're a lot more like me than you care to admit, and that you talk a good game with your game face, but that you're actually a little insecure about your work still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the best salesman.
Okay.
But
all right.
Man, yeah, no, totally. We have yet. Well, I can't even say that. We have. We've had a few photo shoots that were just total busts. That I look back now and I'm like, man, we bombed so bad, and it's just terrible work. And the client has never so much said that, but that's always a fear.
Because clients and photographers have different standards on what good work is.
Oh yeah.
And in all of my years doing boudoir, I think 4 times in the last 5 years have the client and I picked the same favorite image. I know which one is theirs because they make it their profile photo. I know which one is mine because it's the first one I share on my social media. That's how you know their favorite. And it rarely do the two converge. So that's been really helpful for me to pay attention to. But you're saying that most of your income is not coming from weddings, even though weddings have the myth of being able to be the easiest way to make a good income as a photographer. You guys are working every weekend. Are a lot of those doing weddings?
We're doing.
Get off of here, guys. I gotta get back in there.
All right. Thanks, Susan. Don't worry, I'll give you the flip notes.
We're doing. We're shooting 3 weddings this October, so I would say it's picking up. I think we could approach the point where we make a living off weddings. I would never want to shoot only weddings. It's just there's moments I'll enjoy the wedding, the candid stuff, the really pretty stuff. I hate the staged crap. Let's get the whole bridal party in here. It's like, I know the client needs it. They want it for their wedding. Man, it's almost painful to shoot because it's just mundane.
Does Susan share that sentiment?
I would say so, yeah. The stage stuff is just like, God, again.
Okay. How are you guys comparing financially with other senior photographers in your area, according to price?
I think we're about on the ball, pretty much.
Okay.
We're approaching raising prices. We don't want to price ourselves out of work. We want to be available. A lot of people would say, if you're this expensive and the client doesn't want to pay that much, well, that's not the client you wanted in the first place. We really do. We live in a small community, and we want to be available to everyone. You know what I mean?
No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't. Walmart is available to everyone. Do you want to be Walmart? Is Walmart the store you think of when you want people to compare you?
No, I would say at this point, the approach, that approach would be getting our name in the community. I want to be synonymous with photography. When people say photography, they think of us first, especially in our community first, and then the outlying.
Okay. Let's pause on that, because that's also not a good mindset to have, and that's something that a lot of people, and me too, totally share. That I don't care. I just want to get my name out there. I want everyone to think of me when they think photography.
Right.
I think it's more important what they're thinking of you than that they're thinking of you.
I agree.
I want everyone to think of me because I'm the cheapest, most affordable photographer, and I can do 20 sessions in a day.
No.
No. So you don't want everyone to think of you when they think of photography. Right. You want the right people to think of you in regards to the right things. So what is it that you want to be known for?
Right. I'd say
what is it that you want people saying?
They're kind of saying it now. I mean, everybody we've worked with, like, God, you guys are amazing. You're killing it. And like I've told other people when I critique them, I can blow smoke up your ass all day. I can compliment you all day, but I'd rather hear the bad side. How do I improve? You know, I want to do the right thing. I want to give the client the best product at the best price. I want to be busy. I want to be busy enough that, yeah, it's become a full-time job for Susan and for me both.
Okay, but there are also different ways to do that. So do you want to, let's say we could do it just with seniors. Do you want to be shooting 5 to 10 seniors a day, or do you want to be shooting 1 to 2 or 5 a week or 5 a month? You know, because those are very, very different mindsets, and one is not better than the other except for how it relates to your life. So you said you had a big family, so I'm guessing that you can't shoot from 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night because you have other obligations. So let's clarify a little bit more. What is it that you're looking, leave money out of it. Let's assume that I'm going to send you $10,000 a month for the rest of your life, and you don't have to make any money ever again. That all your bills are paid for and money is no longer a factor. Is this what you want to spend the next 20, 30 years of your life doing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I want to move out of Kansas and do nothing but shoot.
Okay, yeah. So if you want to move out of Kansas, where do you want to go?
Anywhere in the West. Anywhere within a drive of Yosemite.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with senior portraits. So does that have to do with landscape photography?
Yeah, it does. It's such a hard thing to do in Kansas. Wow, there's so little interest here.
Okay.
It's a flyover state.
Yeah.
I mean, we've shot so much landscape. Years ago, we're talking 3 years ago, we'd hop in the car every single weekend, go drive. And I mean, we have seen it, we have shot it twice. And it's like, God, how do you continue to find the beauty in the same thing, in the same landscape that's not, remarkable in the first place? Sunsets are awesome. God, I am sick of shooting sunsets.
Yes, but at the same time, I can tell you that everybody feels that way regardless of where they are. Like, I'm going through that right now. Every client comes in and they're like, oh my God, I love your studio. The Victorian couch. Everybody loves my freaking green Victorian couch. After 5 years, I'm sick of shooting on it. I don't care how pretty it is. I'm bored with it. Like, we were talking about that with Trey when we did the photo walks. We went down to the photo walk in Philly and went to places I have not been to and have not seen, even though I've lived in this area my entire life. So it's just one of those things where everywhere else seems glamorous. That said, you're right. You're in Kansas. It is not probably the best home base for a landscape photographer.
We do a lot of our portrait stuff on the green truck. We use that. In the barns, we shoot a lot of the same areas because we know how it works. We know what the light's gonna do, and man, we're both sick of it. We're both like, God, I don't want to shoot that location ever again. But it works, and it's always amazing,
Yeah, it's good to have those staples. It's also good to challenge yourself. But I'm going to give you just a little bit of tough love. Susan's better at portraiture than you are.
Oh, I know. I know.
Okay. But your image that got a 3 and blew me out of the water was landscape. So what have we learned?
I'm a good landscape.
You should be doing landscapes.
And I love
you know?
it. I love it. Yeah.
So what's the possibility?
So you notice my portraiture, I'll try to incorporate landscape with it.
Yeah. That was going to be my next thing. What's the possibility of incorporating landscapes? And if we're talking about two different photographers, then I could see a dynamic where Susan's shooting like the father and son on the edge of the truck, and she's doing these sort of close up, sort of portrait-based things where it's all about the soul of the person, and you're doing these further back wide angle art landscape meets humanity kind of shots where they're almost secondary to the grandeur of everything else, which I think could be totally, because I got to tell you, the shot of the little boy with the wagon, super cute. I think that you would have nailed that further because you would have looked at the composition of the landscape beyond where she saw it, because she focuses on the people.
Yeah, that's exactly, when we first started shooting together, that's exactly how we shot. I shot everything wide, she shot everything close. And I've kind of taken from her book, and I'm trying to shoot closer and play with that. And I found I like it, I'm not as good at it.
No, it's not where your talent is, and it's not where your natural eye is. But I also think in reverse, you know, she did this cute shot of the little boy, and it wasn't bad, but she didn't see the crop, and she didn't see it further out, because that's not where her natural vision is. So I do think that you both have to get in touch with that and realize what's really speaking to you. And usually your natural talent will show you where your passion is. It really does. Like, passion's always seated. That's why we have our talents. Like, it's just the way of the world. I do think that you should not fight to build a wedding business if you're going into it with the understanding that both of you feel that weddings are stressful and frustrating and not enjoyable for you, because you can very easily build a senior business that outdoes how much you're grossing as compared to the local wedding photographer if you give it your time and attention. If you guys are at the beginning and you're only a year in, what I wouldn't give to go back and not make those mistakes that you guys are making right now, which is, I shoot everything. I want to be the most affordable with the biggest, you know, the biggest and best product for the most affordable price tag. And it's the total wrong mentality to have. It really is. It really is. And I'm speaking so much from experience, because I was like, I do weddings and I do seniors, and I hate seniors, and I do portraits and I do children and I do babies and I do puppies, and I'll do your event and I'll do your quinceañera. I don't know what it is, but I'll go shoot it, you know? And so I had everything. And my general mindset was, I just want to be paid to be a photographer. I just want to be able to say that this is what I get to do every day. And I didn't care what it was. One, you only don't care because you're still fresh. You will burn out on all these things. And every day that you have something on the books, regardless of what the price tags is, you'll go, oh, another wedding, or oh, another family session. Like, it just is. So whatever makes you pick up your camera for free, that's what you build your money around. Totally. Yeah. So
no, that's totally us. We do. We shoot everything. And I've recognized at the very beginning, I was like, this is inhibiting us.
Yeah, and so it only took me about a year before I cut out everything but weddings, children, maternity, and boudoir. And then children went. And then weddings went. And now boudoir went, because I really just want to be an artist. And I realized, you know, my whole thing was that I was born an artist, a creative. I create because I can't not create. I don't want a client. Like, everybody loves portraiture and they go, oh, it's easiest to start a portrait business because the subject is who's buying the photos. So it's much easier right now for Susan to go, I just took this beautiful picture of your little 4-year-old standing by a truck. Would you like to buy it? And they go, yeah. And you go, I just took this amazing photo of your entire species all lined up on the mountains. And the pine tree's like, nah, I'm good. I'm not buying it. You know, so it's a totally different mindset. However, you can make a very good living from both. So I think that we start to look, and because we want to be successful, and I think you're going to suffer from this a lot because you and I are more alike than either one of us is going to care to admit through the next 15 levels. You're going to put a lot of your definition for success in how much money you're making as a result of firing that shutter, you know, which is partially because you have family and you want to provide for them. And that's just the reality of life, is that you have to make income. And we're taught from a very young age, especially in a first world country, that our value comes from our ability to contribute to our family, to our community, to our society, to our country by paying taxes. And so that's what it is. And everything that you buy with that money further shows the world, I am successful at what I do. I have a big house, I have a big car, I have the ability to tell my wife to quit her job, I have the ability to spoil my children, because I am such a success based on my monetary value. And you're going to burn out, and you're going to be miserable trying to accomplish it, and you will lose your love for it if you let go of what's really setting you on fire. Not only that, but it's human nature for what we chase to run. So if you start following profit, it's going to lead you away. And Sphere 2 for me is called Profit Follows Passion, because it does. If you do what you're best at, which is your landscapes, more people will pay attention to you as a result of that, because you will have more exceptional images, because you will pour your soul into it. You can put out 10,000 mediocre images and you will get scrolled by on the news feeds and social media and on the websites, and you'll get clicked over. If you have one incredible essential image that makes everybody stop and just look at it, that will get you more notoriety, more attention, more shares, more likes, more business than 50 mediocre images. You're diluting the potency of your own excellence by putting in stuff that's not up to par. That's going to be your biggest problem. It is so about quality, not quantity, and that's really hard to do when you're first starting out, because you feel like you have to have all of this. The other thing is that even leaving landscapes out of it and doing portraits and families and seniors and weddings, what you're saying is, I'm a general practitioner. And you guys are new, so you haven't heard this. Anybody that's watching that's already been in here is like, oh, this one again. But there's a lot of truth to it. And the fact is that if you have a general practitioner, a family doctor, and you have a heart surgeon, which one's making more money?
The surgeon.
Heart surgeon. Okay, but it's more than that, because you would trust your heart surgeon to tell you that you have the flu and prescribe an antibiotic. You would not trust your family doctor to perform open heart surgery on you. You want the best, and you're willing to pay for the best, which is why he makes more money. So by you going, I do everything, what you're saying is, I'm not really good enough at any one of these to command a high price tag. I'm just good. I'm not exceptional. I'm not amazing. I'm not incredible at any one of these. So when we talk about, I just want everyone to know me, do you want everyone to know you as a family doctor, or do you want the people that are having heart failure to know that you are the best heart surgeon? Right. You know, because they're very different mindsets, you know. And here's the thing is that if you're really good at one, you'll get requests for the others. I haven't shot weddings in 2 years now, going on 3. I just got a request yesterday from somebody random. I have no idea who they are or how they found me. And they're like, I really want you to shoot my wedding. And as an exercise in interest, I said, I'll only shoot 3 weddings a year, because I usually end up picking 1 or 2 because friends and family get married.
Right.
And it'll cost you between $10,000 and $25,000 to hire me. And she wrote me back and said, no problem. And I said, well, I already have 2 booked, and my schedule's really, really high in demand right now. So you're probably looking at closer to 15 to 20 to start. And she said, no problem. When they now stop and think about that. If you're coming up to $1,000 and I'm getting paid, we'll say $10,000 on the low end, I have to shoot 10 weddings in a year to make what you're making shooting 100 weddings in a year, which is 2 every weekend. I have to work 10 days a year, and you have to work 100 days a year. And that's not including editing and retouching time. So not do you want everyone to know you, but what do you want to be known for? Who do you want to be known as? Do you want to be Versace or you want to be Target? Like, where is the breakdown? And neither one of them is wrong. I'm not saying that only high-end studios make money, because one of my best friends and favorite photographers, Matthew, runs an extremely high-end, high-volume senior studio, and he does weddings and he does a lot of the sports photography. He shoots more sessions in a weekend than I do all year. He makes 4 times the amount of money that I do in a year because of high volume, but he loves being there all day, every day, and he doesn't have kids, and he just loves being in the studio, and he loves shooting, and he'll shoot 15 clients in a day. I don't want to do that, you know, and he says the same thing about me. Jess will go out and set her freaking bridge on fire on her property just to have flames behind the model and, you know, be able to do this, and she'll spend 3 months building a shoot, and I do not have the patience to do that for a single image. It's just different mentalities. Neither one's better or worse. You just have to figure out who you are, and in this case, what kind of couple you are and how you want that to surround your life. Like Chris in Sphere 2, when he sent me his Sphere 2 thoughts, he mentioned his kids at least 6 times in that, which told me his kids are essential. He wants to be able to put them on the bus and get them off the bus because they're young. He wants to be able to spend time with them and sit down to dinner with his family every night, which means he's not working after 5 o'clock, you know? So these are the kind of questions that you have to start thinking about. And the problem is that when we look at it and we go, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and somebody else goes, yeah, you are, I'll pay you to do that, then we go, oh, maybe I could do this for a living. Yeah. And then we start focusing on the money and going, well, if I wanted to do this for a living, I'd have to make this much, and I should do this, and this is what everybody else is doing. And we get so far away that we stop, and then we end up working to work. And so we try to have our dream life, our dream careers, and we don't pay enough attention to how that revolves around our actual life. So we talk about, then we try doing that elusive thing that doesn't exist, where we talk about work-life balance, and it doesn't. It does not balance. Both of them are full-time, especially when you're passionate about your career. So you're trying to do all of this work and make all this income in order to support your life, which is taking you away from here, which is making your family feel resentful, even though it's the only way that you provide. And you're constantly going like this, and there is no balance. It's throwing one up and then running and catching the other and throwing that up and then going back. It's more like work-life juggling, you know? So the only way to have that converge is to do exactly that and have work-life integration, where you go, this is the lifestyle that I want. I want to be home with my kids and my family for dinner every night. I want at least one night a week that I can take Susan out to dinner. I don't want to work more than 2 weekends a month. The other 2 I want open to go do a family thing and to send the kids to the babysitter and do just a wife thing, you know. I don't want to get up before 10 a.m. I'm a night owl, you know, so I don't want to get up before 10 o'clock in the morning. I have to when the kids are in school, so I get earlier days, but I'm not. I write until 3 o'clock in the morning. So I don't like early morning sessions. You'll notice that you can't book.
I'm up until 2 every night.
Yeah, you can't book a critique with me before like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, because I'll fail you just because you got me up early. You know, but I know who I am, you know, and I know that my husband's military, and that at any moment he can be like, see ya, I got to go to Afghanistan for a year. So my studio is right on the other side of this wall in a separate building right there, so that I can work and have my kids at home and I can get them off the bus. And I have a couple acres of property, but I never have to leave, you know? So my first recommendation, before you guys go any further, before you worry about raising rates or deciding who you're marketing to or trying to get well known, is to really decide, what do we want our lives to look like? Because right now, all you're saying is, I'd like to do this full time. That's about as far as you've thought it out. You kind of have a general idea because both of you are working, and so you know how much income you have to bring in to support your current lifestyle. But really, essentially, what you did was you're like, I'd like to go visit Australia.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it.
God, if I could be a travel photographer, shit.
Right. But okay, so let's say that's coming from Ollie Dale, who's one of my favorite apprentices, who just came over for the tour from New Zealand. And he goes, hey, I want to go to the US. Well, that's kind of a big place. So maybe we should narrow it down because you don't want to end up in Kansas. There's no landscapes out there.
Yeah.
I got a guy, he told me to avoid it.
I see the sunflower field, keep moving.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes, well, I've heard it's beautiful out west. Okay, where out west? Well, Yosemite. This is what we're doing. Right now, all you're saying is, I'd like to go see America. Get really, really specific about where you're going, and it gets a lot easier to plot your course from where you are to where you want to be. I'd really like to make $10,000 a month. I'd really like to only work 12 days a month in the studio and have another 10 days on top of that that are editing days. That puts me at 22. The other 8 to 10 days of the year are specifically for my family and my kids. I don't want to work any holiday ever. I don't care what the client offers. Or I don't want to work any holiday, and if somebody calls me, I'm going to charge triple my rates. Yes, I will shoot your Halloween wedding, but only if you're paying me $25,000. Otherwise, I'm going trick-or-treating with my kids. You know? Get specific about that first, and everything else will open up for you. That is your homework assignment.
All right. I kind of knew that was coming.
Good. Did you have anything else that you wanted to touch base about before we go? Because our hour is more than up.
Yeah, I don't think so. I appreciate the time.
Okay. All right. Sit down with Susan tonight, talk about that, and I want to post from the two of you. You can do it separate. You can do it together. Actually, here's my challenge for you since you guys are my first couple. I would like both of you to go sit down in separate rooms and write up what the ideal scenario is and then converge and see where the points merge and where they're separate. It'll be a good exercise.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right. Very good.
All right. It was
Thanks.
good to hang out with you. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Last. Bye-bye.